What it is, what it ain't, what it do, what it don't, what it will, what it won't. This is the Friday that some of y'all have been waiting for. Those who sing that fight song and know that we were going to come on this show and be obnoxious with all our indie stuff. This is the episode and the Friday that some of you dread because you spend most of your life hating on Notre Dame and all the great things that have come and arisen from the Golden Dome. But either way, it's another Friday, which gives us another opportunity to get together and record the thing known, respected, and absolutely referred to as the Ball Hog Sports Talk, where sports, business, and entertainment collide, where businessmen get together and discuss sports in an entertaining fashion. Today's episode is going by the title of Letters of Recommendation. And my first letter of recommendation would be, I recommend to you, go get a nice tall cup of coffee, spike it with whatever you want. If you notice a little bit of bling in the room, it's because that's how we feeling today. It's the Ball Hog Sports Talk coming to you. Make sure you like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anyone that you know, and subscribe. But today's episode, you want to be a part of this live recording. It's the Letters of Recommendation episode of the Ball Hog Sports Talk. So no further ado, boys and girls, cats and rats, dogs and frogs, anything and everything in between, pull up a seat. It's the Ball Hog Sports Talk. We about to go in. So let's go. Wake up, wake up, wake up, and stay woke. Because this is the Ball Hog Sports Talk with your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South. This is the place where sports, business, and entertainment collide. And we're going to give it to you rough, rugged, and raw. So come get you a spoonful, like some grits with butter and salt. You know how we do it in the South, y'all. Make sure you do not get caught in your feelings. Strap on your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. Come on, let's go. Once again, it's on. I get to be here on this 10th of January in front of this microphone with somebody who I enjoy being with on Fridays, but especially on this particular Friday. He's coming to you from the Middle Coast. He is the man, the myth, the legend. Thou shall be intergalactically known and respected as. When you say it with your chest and with a little extra bass in your voice today. His name is The Big Flow Show. What's up, my brother?
Man, what it do? Feeling good today, man. I woke up this morning, it was snow on the ground, and I didn't give a damn.
Ooh, felt warm.
Felt warm outside. I went out, cleaned my daughter's car off. I ain't put a coat on. I'm hot.
Smile on your face. Let me
smile on my face. I'll be honest. As a Notre Dame fan, before I was a Notre Dame football player, as a Notre Dame fan my whole life. So I've been, I'm diehard as far as when the big losses and stuff. And so how many times you wake up the next day and you're like, man, that really did happen yesterday. We really did get beat. And you just like, damn, I got to hear this crap from everybody. And we didn't make it. So like,
did any of them people, some same people who normally after those tough losses, and it's happened several years with several different teams, did any of them people call you last night?
Absolutely not. I got a lot of text messages from them. Actually, the one biggest hater out there, a guy named Julian Mitchell. Shout out to Julian, biggest hater, right? He been so quiet, but he secretly texts me on the side. Like he don't on Facebook, he's a clown, but he'll secretly text me. He bets on Notre Dame. Yeah. He wants to say he hate him so much. He's still mad at them for what they did to Tyrone Willingham.
So many people use that as the marker. And
but here's the thing I try to say is at some point, we have more black head coaches than HBCUs. At whatever. We're about to put the first black head coach in the national championship. But our basketball coach is black, our girls basketball coach is black, our volleyball coach is black. Nobody has that. We are the blackest school in America when it comes to coaches. Nobody has more than we do.
And probably the Power Four, I would say.
The Power Four.
Yeah, Power Four.
Yeah. And if someone's, there might be a tie, but nobody has more than that, right? For the
Very
majors, there's
fair.
only so many major sports, and all of our major sports are coached by Black people. So get
People
over it,
looking for a
man.
reason. People looking for a reason. But forget them today, because it's about us. It's
Hey,
about us.
Jackie Harrison, welcome, Jackie.
Yeah, I
Olivia,
like that. Jackie Harrison,
we're gonna write her a letter. We're gonna just send me your information.
write her a letter of recommendation. You know, I got my girl Olivia on a letter of recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
Who is there at St. Benedict's, an awesome young lady. But today is all about the Irish. I'm happy to hear that my girl Olivia is going to apply. I'm happy to hear that the haters had to shut up yesterday. I'm happy to hear that you didn't get communications from those people. Today's episode is going by letters of recommendation. You've ever participated in the Ball Hawk Sports Talk, you know we put a lot into our titles. I talked about my youth football experience. That's why I'm gold out. I'm chunked out. That's how we do it. Whenever I go to the game, I'm obnoxious. I'm that coach. I get to relive my childhood and hang out with these kids and teach them some football. You see all the gold, the hardware. I told somebody this week, I said simply this. I said, man, some of you, and I posted, I said, y'all youth coaches are bragging about fake gold. I know you don't believe it. This is fake gold. It's fake gold. Meaningless trophies. I'm bragging about the number of schools I had to write letters of recommendations for because my dogs are ready for high school. And it put it in perspective for me that what my purpose is for being there. Because these young men are ready for high school. But in writing those letters of recommendation, if you just look at what a letter of recommendation is, it's a formal document that assesses a person's qualifications, skills, and experience. This reference letter should not be taken lightly. When someone asks me to write a letter of recommendation, they are asking me to put my name on the line, to put my stamp on the line. My confidence, my reputation is on the line when I write this letter of recommendation. And that's why I'm proud to write one. And it brings me to this point. Good old Marcus Freeman got his letter of recommendation. Help me. Help me. And he's done something with it. We're going to get into the comparison of him and Brian Kelly, because one would argue by hiring him and put him in that position, Brian Kelly's letter of recommendation is what put him in that position. The recommendation can get you in the door, but what you do when you get there is important. Very, very, very important. The other recommendation I'm making today, I would recommend, because there's two schools that start off by saying, we are, and I know a lot of Penn State folk, they finish it with Penn State. But the good people with a smile on their face today, who was eating oranges last night. You know, eating them good oranges, them sweet ones. It's orange season, baby. We finish that sentence with, we are indeed. I recommend that we finish the statement with those two letters. Those letters of recommendation today are front and center. We got the Big Flow Show in the building. We got sports, we got business, we got entertainment. We do it one way and one way only, rough, rugged, and raw. We ask that you like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anyone you know. I see a lot of people are commenting. We're going to bring all these comments. If you say hello, we're going to bring it out. The other letter of recommendation, and I'm going to allow you to take the, you get a lot more hate than I do. Your recommendation last night was what to your haters? It was something.
I mean, just slight recommendation. Just go butt naked, blindfold in traffic. You know what I'm saying? And stand out there. That's all I'm just saying. Just go out there and put yourself in harm's way. That's all I want you to do. Just go put yourself in harm's way and increase the chances. I don't want you to see it coming. You know what I'm saying? That's
Austin, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Should have studied harder. I hope some kid is reading that. He said he got denied the Notre Dame twice. Should have hit the books harder. Your tragedy is a blessing.
They say third time is a charm. You should have applied third time.
Hey,
you should have got your 40 time right.
But I will say this, man, because I want all of the Notre Dame fans who have dealt with the ire of the haters, who have dealt with the people poking and prodding and saying different things, I want you to, in the comment section, offer a letter of recommendation. Offer a letter of recommendation to the people who've been hating on you. Offer a letter of recommendation to your coworker who always got something to say every time Notre Dame lose. Offer a letter of recommendation to all the people who want to bring up Northern Illinois every time we talk about the playoffs. That game was way back in September. Offer a letter of recommendation to anybody and everybody who still want to hold on to the Tyrone Willingham thing, despite the fact we got a today he's 39-year-old head coach that's going to the National Football Championship as the first black coach. Offer a letter of recommendation to all the people that have issues with those letters called ND. Because we are. Offer the letter of recommendation. We're going to share these letters of recommendation today. We're going to have a gathering of letters of recommendation. What? The Big Flow Show started us off last night with his letter of recommendation, asking them to be blindfolded in traffic.
Butt naked.
Buck naked. That was his recommendation. Offer yours. The other thing I want to recommend, because a lot of people got a lot of stuff to say about how Notre Dame, you know how many times people have recommended that Notre Dame join a conference? What's up, D. Butler, in the building? Meet me in the ATL, Devin Butler. You know what I mean? Let's go, baby. You know how many times people have offered to us Notre Dame, and they said in such a judgmental, know-all voice, well, you know Notre Dame need to join the conference, right? My man Lamar Thomas in the building. What's up, baby? How you, man? LT is in the building. What up, dog? Appreciate you, man, for joining in. Miami's finest, man. The U. That's when it really was the U. But I ain't going to get into that today. It's about us today, these letters of recommendation. How many times have people recommended that we got to be in a conference? They've gone beyond recommended. They've demanded that we got to be in a conference. Well, I recommend to you in my letter of recommendation in response to your recommendation that we need to join a conference. I need to recommend to you to take a very simple math class. You got to take math, basic finance. Notre Dame, by making it to the semifinals, made $14 million, and so did Penn State. The difference between those $14 million paychecks is two big differences. The first one is Notre Dame didn't have to split it with anybody. How many teams are in the Big Ten now? 38? I don't even know how many.
18.
Yeah. Penn State had how many ever teams is in the Big Ten now, which I don't know why they call it still the Big Ten, but the Big Ten, whatever number of teams that is, Penn State had to share with all them other teams. So simple math, simple finance tells you Notre Dame might be making a good decision by keeping their money to themselves. The other big difference between those two schools entering the semifinals is one came out with an additional $6 million. 14 plus 6, carry the 1, drop the 2 equals what? Let me see, simple back of the envelope math. $20 million. You know how many schools get a piece of that $20 million?
Let me hold on. How many guesses I get?
I'll give you one guess because you're a smart guy.
Well, I'll come back to you. One school.
20 divided by 1 for all the mathematicians in there means Notre Dame, in getting that $20 million, is sending to their account roughly, might be a rounding error, $20 million. So for all of those people who suggested to Notre Dame that they must be in a conference, your letters of recommendation have been read. They have been processed and analyzed. And I am proud to tell you that they have been thrown in an open fire, or we urinated on them. But we're not listening to you no more because we ain't got to split the bread. I would then recommend to the recommender, because one of those people who was loud and boisterous about Notre Dame being in the conference was none other than James Franklin. Prior to the game, James Franklin basically had a lot to say. And one of the things he said was he didn't think that Notre Dame's path to the game was fair because they didn't have to play in a conference championship, thereby essentially going with the age-old argument and recommending that Notre Dame be in a conference. Well, James, we
Mr.
said that
Franklin.
emphatically. It sounds like I'm dissing the man by saying his name. Well, James.
He deserves ridicule. He's gonna be the first man made it to Final Four in the history of the world, and worried about his job.
You got to be worried about that. Well, let's get on that. Let's actually talk about that because James Franklin. Two things, man. I would recommend to James, because in this episode is letters of recommendation. We're just going to keep on giving our recommendations. I would recommend to James on the eve of the biggest game in your life to date. Fair?
Fair.
But worry about the football, dog. Did it or did it not seem like James, hold on, I got to say a little better than that. James. Did it or did it not seem like James was creating a narrative as to why Penn State lost and had to take a steeper climb and a tougher route to make it to the championship? Or am I tripping? That's what it seemed like to me.
I don't know what his goal was, honestly. I mean, are we going to play the clip? Or are we with him with the age, or did we not? Are we just discussing?
I'll do that after this. Yeah, I got that.
I just feel like the way he handled himself, and you know what, in this soundbite era, I'm gonna say I didn't listen to the entire presser. I just heard
lost the respect. Go ahead, sorry.
I just saw clips, but I kind of feel like the way he was talking to Freeman when he was trying to sun him, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, he's complaining. He just didn't conduct himself the way. If I was the AD, I'd be like, I don't like how you handled that, man. Right? I feel like you gave some fuel to the fire, you know, to ND to feel like, all right, this dude's talking shit. He's over here saying that we shouldn't be here, or it's not fair how we got here. Wow. Man, worry about winning the game. The bottom line is, I don't care how you got here. I don't care what it is. We got a game to play.
Right.
And it seems like at halftime, he must have just thought the game was over or something, because his game plan just went to shit. I mean,
do you really think he's on the hot seat? But so I'm messing around.
It's hard for me to say someone's on the hot seat. I mean, I'm a realist. You know, when Brian Kelly was here,
hold on, we got a good recommendation. He's got a new letter of recommendation. I like that one.
Yeah,
I recommended the haters drink a nice tall glass of STFU.
Yep, I got something for you too.
Make sure it's on the rocks, baby. One of the big old cubes.
But I say, shout out Mark. I say that I forgot what I was saying. I just had a senior moment.
My bad. That's me interrupting you. But we were essentially going with this James Franklin being on the hot seat.
Hot seat. You know, I have a hard time. I'm a realist, right? You know, when they wanted to get rid of Kelly, now obviously we can look at it now and say, oh, you know, it's great that he's gone, whatever. But you know, Brian Kelly turned the program around. He's the winningest coach in Notre Dame history. He gave us multiple.
Brian who? I never heard of him.
Yeah,
you got to send me his letter of recommendation, dog. I don't know, bro. I
got receipts. He's got what? He had like 5 10-win seasons. He had a national championship appearance, a playoff appearance.
I mean, we was there. We didn't really appear.
I had a hard time. I have a hard time when people were like, oh, you know, he's awful, he's horrible. Not awful. I mean, like, come on, man.
Winningest is winningest. That's in your recommendation.
Yeah.
Put it there, stamp. Fair.
He's got the winningest. We had all the other coaches.
His departure was too bogus for me, so I'm hating. But go ahead.
But you know what? Stop that. His departure was the best thing that ever happened to Notre Dame.
Fair. I'm saying how he did it.
No, how he did it was the best thing that ever happened to Notre Dame.
We're going down a rabbit hole, but give me the 5 seconds version of why you think this.
Okay, so he leaves us when we have an opportunity. We're still in the playoff contention, right? The playoff decision. He leaves us, and he starts trying to grab Tommy Rees, and he's trying to grab Freeman to go with him, right?
Yep.
Notre Dame has to be butt naked right before signing day, and right before a bowl game or potentially the playoffs, because we still had an opportunity to make the playoffs at that point.
Right.
And they had to hire Freeman as a head coach. If he would have left at the end of the season, Notre Dame would have done a long, drawn-out search, and we never would have came up with Freeman. Freeman would have been gone. they would have been messing around. But because they were in such a bad position, they had to hire Freeman. Otherwise, there's no way they hire him.
Fair.
In my opinion. So
Fair.
him leaving us after a great season in great shape with a great recruiting class, doing whatever with great coaches that he hired.
And the players, let's be fair, the current players during that time put a lot of pressure on the university. They were pretty expressed. I was going to say it was implied, but it was expressed that they were putting pressure on the university, that they wanted him at the helm.
And who hired Freeman?
And Notre Dame backed into it. Let's be fair. While I love my school, I'm not going to blindly support everything. I thought how we handled Tyrone Willingham was terrible. People who get on Notre Dame don't understand it. There's people in Notre Dame who don't like everything about Notre Dame.
Past.
We backed into a good decision with Marcus Freeman. I still like the Brian Kelly thing.
It's over.
Say again.
That's the past. I think we've had 2 ADs since then.
Yeah. Tyrone Willingham is the past. But with the past, when
he was trash.
From an employment standpoint, it still conjures up some feelings of there's some personal feelings that I get. People of color, when you look upon that, like,
let's face it, Tyrone Willingham was a bad coach.
He was a bad coach. He was. I will change that. He was not good for the current landscape. I couldn't imagine him here. He was a great coach in terms of being a leader amongst men. He was a great coach in terms of creating other leaders. If you look at the captains and what they've done in their life, in terms of wins and losses, it would have taken a long time for him to get to this point. And the way college football is structured now, the recruits and those who can help you win, they ain't patient for all of that. They're not going to wait for all of that. So I'll give you that. I took you down another rabbit hole. I'll let you finish up when it comes to James Franklin and his approach and whether or not James Franklin is on the hot seat. Because this
I get so that's why I started with that rabbit hole. Is his to say that
Austin says James is, oh my bad, 1 of 15 against top 5 teams. Ouch. So with that, and with this most current example of him being this close yet that far, as he's discussing whether or not Notre Dame should be in a conference, essentially, by talking about our easier path towards this game, does this leave him vulnerable? And then the most pressing part, like you said, Penn State dominated the first half, yet they were only up 10-3 at halftime. The momentum shifted so quick that you have to look at the coach on both sides. Marcus Freeman is going to get credit for a halftime speech that maybe he gave, maybe he didn't. And on the other side of it, you're like, well, what did James Franklin discuss? What adjustments did he make in the halftime? He adjusted all the wrong ways. And then the final decision offensively to be aggressive, and I'm hearing the broadcast, the commentator saying, I would be aggressive. I'm thinking, of course you would, because that's not your job on the line. And sure enough, after a first down big run, James Franklin and that offense goes out there and decides to be aggressive. They had a grand total of 0 completions to wide receivers. A decision that will forever be questioned, as opposed to running out the clock, going into overtime because they were backed up in their own territory. With all of those things added together, that's how you come up with a scenario where a guy who just played in the semifinals, a guy that had a brilliant season and played in the Big Ten championship, is still answering the question why you can't win the big game and possibly trying to defend his job. Probably not for next year, but James Franklin very well might be on the proverbial hot seat, which seems crazy, yet true.
I mean, Austin's stat that he just posted is it's hard. 1 of 15 against top 5 teams.
Yeah, that's bad.
That's tough, man. What's up, Johnny? What's up, man? Shout out to my man from 8th grade.
Always 8th grade. I like that.
Man, all the way back.
I think this is the perfect time. My man Austin is teeing up some good stuff here. Because I found that to be interesting as well. For those who are listening and not watching, Austin tees up a good point. He says that hairline joke pissed Marcus off. He wanted to beat PSU so bad. And I said that to people. After that interview and after that moment, I said Notre Dame by 10. I was wrong. It's Notre Dame by 3. But let's play the clip. Let me see if I can get myself together and play the clip. But you got to be careful with how with what you say in certain moments. Fair?
Very.
Let me get this together first. You gotta be careful about what you say in certain moments. And in this particular moment, they were in an interview, and my man James Franklin had this to say.
It'll be a great game, and we're
Not
really
at the beginning.
excited about competing. I'm looking over here at Marcus, and how old are you now, Marcus? 38. I mean, look at the hairline on this guy. I mean, envious of his hairline in a lot of ways. But
here's we're gonna break it down because today's episode.
I don't know why this didn't show you the full. I don't know why it didn't show the full picture, but you should. What you're missing on that, for those who didn't see it, is just kind of Marcus's body language. So and this is, I don't know how this is everywhere, but in the Black culture,
that is a recommendation. Let's tell our non-Black friends
we call that sunning somebody, right?
You're
sunning him. Like, you don't ask a man. First of all, you should know his age, and if you don't, you can ask him at a different time. But when you're sitting there and you're like, "Hey, son, how old are you, son?" And when you say a sentence to somebody where "son" would have fit in perfectly at the end of the sentence, you're sunning somebody. How old are you, son? Look at that. Look at his hairline. Look at that. That's basically, we would say, "Oh, you still got breast milk on your lip." That's one of the things we would say like that.
Or even asking a question that everybody in the room knows you know the answer to, but you ask it publicly in front of people in closed quarters. You ask that question at the barbershop. Just me and you ask that question, cool. But in black culture, we say you ain't supposed to ask that in front of everybody like that.
Nah, we are both the head coaches of two major universities about to go play in this game, and you worried about how old I am?
The answer could have been old enough to whoop your ass. That's what really the answer could have been.
Yeah. So that's sunning somebody. So when he did that, I saw Marcus. He handled it well. He's like, I probably wouldn't have answered the question. I'd have been like, I don't even know, man. I wouldn't have gave him the control of that. Marcus handled it with more class than me. But I just think for him to ask a question like that, we know in that culture that you're not supposed to do that. So
it got personal at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
The reels, and at that moment, you didn't fucked up.
Yeah.
Because Marcus was like, he smiled but wasn't laughing. And that's universal also in the Black coach line. We wasn't here. I'll beat your ass for asking me that question. And by the way, how old am I? Got nothing to do with the fact that I done put on these shoulder pads and helmet and was damn good at it, played in the league, and I got a little testosterone in me. I ain't like that. I just didn't like. That's what I got.
I wonder at the handshake when he said, "Hey man, how old are you? How old are you?" You walk off the stage. Don't sun me like that. Don't always sun me like that, man.
So that's when it got interesting. But also, I think that's when James Franklin is now even more on the hot seat. Our letter of recommendation to the Penn State faithful that officially are probably looking at James Franklin and that 1-15 record, which I have not fact-checked, against number 5 teams. But still the looming question, can James Franklin win the big game? That's certainly out there. Our letter of recommendation to them is what? Because I think people they assume you can go out and just go get another coach. Because I think he's been there 10 years or whatever, he's only had one losing season. So in the case of James Franklin, in the case of writing a letter of recommendation to the Penn State faithful, as if they would read it, the athletic director and the powers that be in making the decision as to James Franklin's employment, what would you put in that recommendation as of today?
So I go back and I started this one when I went on the tangent with Brian Kelly. Is who's better than him? Is he one of the top 10, 15 coaches in college football?
James Franklin?
Yeah.
And my answer, hell yeah, absolutely.
So you're going to get rid of him?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Who are you? Who's out there? When you get mad about these games, he lost by 3 points to a team that is either the number 1 or the number 2 team in the nation, right? So when you look at that 1-15 against top 5 opponents, against top 5, okay, most people have a bad record against top 5 opponents, right? When you think about 1-15 is tough, but at the same time, he didn't get blown out. It wasn't like he couldn't compete.
Great game. Phenomenal game. And we should have started there.
Yeah.
I recommend that we all celebrate good football. That was good football last night.
That was good football. He came out. I just think some things happened, by bringing Angeli in there and giving us a spark right before halftime, because we were looking like we were getting punished. I mean, we were getting out hit, out toughed. They got every tough yard, everything. And I was like, this is about to get ugly. They realize they're tougher than we are, and we're about to boom. And then here comes Angeli, and they weren't ready for that. I actually was surprised that we didn't come back out with him, because their defense was not ready for a guy that could pass like that. They were very ready for Leonard.
Threat. They were ready for the running.
That, and they did a phenomenal job against that. And then Riley gave us a couple good passes at the end, which he seems to do, along with a few errant throws, as you say, unforgivable picks that he has. But
you gotta go sit. You can't sit.
You gotta go sit down. Yeah, go sit at the kids' table.
And to be fair, Penn State quarterbacks, hey, I see what you did.
He was trash. The Penn State quarterback was trash, and that was kind of the difference at the end. That number 44, that tight end they have, is a man.
Beast.
I hope a team that I like in the NFL
and
likes
the DN,
him.
Beast, straight beast. Who's already announced that he's declaring for the NFL draft. Played with one arm and balled out. Final words when it comes to James Franklin, because I do want to get into this next part. And the recommendation we would make for this man being on the hot seat is what?
You got to keep him. You got to find some other changes to make, but you got to keep him, I think.
I would agree as well. What up, team? Kareem in the building. But it brings me to this, because one of the recommendations that I saw last night, and one breast smell like Similac. Yeah, that's basically what he said. Boy, how old you is? But one of the recommendations that I saw last night was this. Based on this, we need to stop talking about. Hold on, let me get this one done. He said we need to stop talking about first when it comes to black coaches. And this wasn't. Thank you, Henry Davis Jr., my guy in the building, South Bend's finest. He wasn't the one who made the recommendation, but a friend of mine, one of my fraternity brothers, made this recommendation. Like, when are we going to stop talking about the first black this, the first black that? Every time we talk about it, we give race as a context. We give it too much power. We will hear this ad nauseum for the next 10 days that Marcus Freeman will be the first black coach to coach in a national championship game, college football national championship game. And I ask, in response to that letter of recommendation, I ask in response to this comment that my man Henry has posted, should we just do away with the topic altogether and move on? And I ask you, but I ask everyone, like, every time we have the discussion of the first black, in this case, the first black coach to coach in a college football playoff championship, which you got to keep adding layers to it, because this structure of college football playoffs championship is different than the previous. But when you add the layers, you also have to say the first black. Are we doing ourselves and the topic of race, are we doing it a disservice? Are we giving too much power to it by even acknowledging it?
I'd say no. I mean, there is definitely some significance to it. I actually didn't realize that until this came up. I never really thought of it, to be honestly. There's, obviously we don't have a ton of black head coaches in college football in comparison to non-black coaches. Two things. One, I had no idea Franklin was black. All right, that probably.
Part. So that was the biggest question. That was recommendation. My son is so honest. Like, kids are honest. My son, we watching it, and it says whoever wins is going to be the first black coach. And they've got Marcus Freeman and James Franklin on the screen, and he's got this look of confusion. You're like, wait, what are you talking about? And I'll repeat it again. And he points at the screen, basically saying that man ain't black.
When they first said it, I thought they were guaranteeing a Notre Dame victory. I was like, damn, that's real cocky. And I'm like, Franklin's black? And I still don't see it. Like, normally when you hear it, you're like, okay, I can see it now. I stare this man dead in his mouth when he's talking. I'm like, I don't.
Like, oh, you bullshitting.
He's bullshitting. He ain't black. But, so I
should we keep acknowledging it, though? Should we?
I mean, it's a first. So I guess you got to go first. Just like they would say the youngest, if he was the youngest, right? They would say that.
Hold on. We got a recommendation. Somebody wants you to put that helmet on again.
I tried to put it out there. No, don't try to front me, because I tried to put it on there. You took it off. I owned it. I'm not going to do it today because the game is until like a week from Monday. So, but I will. I will. And plus, I brought my helmet downstairs last night, so I think I wore it yesterday.
You wore it during the game?
No, my man's son came over. He wanted to see the helmet, so it's downstairs. I tell you what, though, I got so crunk. You know, I've been losing my mind here, so I ripped my shirt off a little bit when I did it.
How you rip your shirt off a little bit?
A little bit, right? And you know, that's why I hate my children, man. I turn around, I'm like, yeah, and my daughter's got like these. She's over here.
Oh yeah, she captured it.
Baby girl is like these.
Tell her we
grinning.
need that. We need that
You know,
media
I was gonna take
asset.
it off.
Ball Hog Sports Talk.
So ready for me. So
She
if you
know
see
how
those
crazy
pictures
you are.
out there, it's Photoshop. If you see the pictures out there,
But it's not real.
it's not
I've
real.
been hacked.
I've been hacked.
But
My
I give you the
daughter's
final word on it, man, because I when I read that post, and someone that I respect, a very successful black man in his own regard, posted that and essentially said, at some point we got to move away from having a discussion about this being the first black fill in the blank in 2025, because every time we have that discussion, we're giving race the power that it shouldn't have in 2025. And look, I can agree or disagree, and we all can, but at a minimum, I think it's deep enough that we should have the discussion on it. So I'll give you the last word on it. And please, I know there's people chiming in, continue to chime in. Should we leave that out of this whole conversation as we get ready for Marcus Freeman, black, Asian, young, a lot of young ladies think he's handsome, a lot of descriptions other than black, but should it be more about the football coach, Marcus Freeman, than the fact he's a black football coach?
The fact that it's the first, which again, I didn't even realize, right? But the fact that it's the first, you talk about it. Now we have it again. I don't think it's as much to talk about. But I think at the end of the day, like again, if he was the youngest, they'd say he was the youngest. If it was anything else, they would say it was anything else. So I don't think it's just race, right? I think it rolls like that. So at the end of the day, I don't think we're giving it too much power. He won, whatever. You know, I don't think it should be the first question you ask him when he wins a championship. How does it feel to be the first black coach to do this? I don't. That's giving it too much power. But I do think it's going to be a normal question in the thing, and you'll hear it. And now if he wins it, you know, he's made it so that there's no longer a drought. Right, we're going to have to go, and the next time it won't be the first. So
right,
maybe you don't mention it anymore.
I think that we should continue mentioning it because you even said it at the outset of this topic. He's like, I didn't even realize that. I think when you bring things up that seem so incredible, you're baffled by it. I think it gives it so much more meaning because in 2025, you think of all of the great players, and we're going to get into some of the NIL and sort of sharing the value now. But all the great players that have played, that have then gone on to be coaches, to think that this is the first black coach that is coached in a college football championship seems asinine. And so that's why I would say continue to discuss it. But at the same time, I have to give a little credence to the idea that the discussion itself continues this situation where race is a part of decision-making, when most times when it is involved in decision-making is negatively working against us. So I understood the point he was trying to make. Let's get into this because there's another semifinal that is going on. And I do want to at least, you know, talk about that game because the first black coach in the Natty situation is going to be what it's going to be. And please continue to chime in. I see the comments. We're going to share the comments. But in this case, it's going to be Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame, but they're going to play a tough opponent on the other side. And so for both participants in the Cotton Bowl tonight, we'll start with the underdog, which is interesting because they are the home team tonight. Home team and the fact that they're the higher seed, home team and the fact that the Cotton Bowl is played in Texas, and Texas got a lot of families that are Texas families. Let's start with Texas. Your letter of recommendation for them tonight to secure their spot in the national championship and play Notre Dame, you recommend what?
For Texas?
For Texas. We'll get to Ohio State afterwards.
I don't know. You got to do something with number 4.
And they're a 6-point underdog, which, right.
You got to figure out how to stop this receiver that somehow Ohio State has forgotten about. Try to find a way to forgive. So I'm going to say you got to blitz off. I don't know. That number 4 is deadly. I don't know what they're going to do with him. I don't think they can win. I think it's going to be a 20-point win.
Because really, a 6-point underdog, which is basically at home, you get 6 points for being at home. Basically, they're a 12-point underdog. Now, Cotton Bowl is sort of neutral, but not really neutral because it's in Texas. So, but I would say that's a home game that you're a 6-point underdog. That's basically a 12-point spread in Vegas, the way they see it.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody's really giving them a chance. I would say open up the playbook. I would say bring in some change-ups like Manning. I would say treat it as though you got nothing to lose because Ohio State is playing that well. Having said that, just like we talked about James Franklin, before these playoffs, there was another Big Ten coach at the helm of a notorious Big Ten program that if you look at what he's done and his record cumulatively since the time that he's been there, and even this year had done great, who was on the hot seat, and that coach is Ryan Day. Playing this well, Ryan Day has almost set himself up for what could be his own demise and downfall. Same question, letter of recommendation. Ryan Day has the extra component that, dog, you lose this. Being a 6-point favorite in Texas, playing the way that you're playing, and having the roster that you have. So many people have said that their roster is constructed to win the championship. If you lose this in the same year that no one can understand why in the hell you lost to Michigan, although Michigan winning against Alabama helped that narrative. Ryan Day is on the hot seat if he loses this game, which sounds crazy. Letter of recommendation for Ohio State is what?
I don't like Ohio State, so keep him. I want him to stay there and keep losing the big games. I like that. I like Ohio State, so I'd like to see them keep that guy forever.
Keep the letters of recommendation coming in, y'all.
I want to see him, though. I'll be honest with you. I want to see Texas. I don't want to see Ohio State. I mean 44
Texas
gave us fits yesterday, and number 4 is going to be so much worse.
Number 4 is the best, definitely the best wide receiver in college football, but maybe the best player in college football as a freshman.
It just took a while. They forgot about him for a couple games in there. I don't remember him killing us like that.
That's messed up. Frankie said you can't be what you can't see. Is that about James Franklin's race?
That's trash.
I
like the logo though.
I'm trying to read some of these now before we move to my man Patrick Roach. What's up? And most of these are about whether or not, from a letter recommendation standpoint, recommending should we just leave the context of fun facts like he's the first black coach. When it's race, should we just stop talking about it? Patrick Roach says I don't know the right answer to that question. The most I can say is that one day I want black coaches to be able to win national titles and for it to be perfectly normal, not exceptional. Very fair.
I mean, it's like, okay, let's make a parallel, and thanks for that, Patrick. Black quarterbacks in the Super Bowl, it's no longer a big deal. Like, you know what I mean? Like, black quarterbacks, you can make it one, but there's so many black quarterbacks in the NFL right now, and they all do well, and they rank amongst the highest.
But we talked about that in nauseam when there was the 2 black coaches, when Lovie Smith.
We did, but no, I'm saying quarterbacks. I'm saying we used to talk about black quarterbacks, right? When Doug Williams went in there, and he was a black quarterback, the first black quarterback in the NFL to get to the Super Bowl. Now, Mahomes is perennial. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many good black quarterbacks now. The majority of it's not really a topic. You know what I mean? Like it goes away. And what happens is you gave an opportunity.
But it is. But so to your point though, and I'm dealing with this on the high school level. I'm talking about letters of recommendation, and I talked about it in terms of the other kids that I coach. And more personally, I'm also going through with my son. He's one of the kids that I coach in my 13U that's also applying to high schools. one of the high schools that I really, really, really like for him academically has challenges from a diversity standpoint. And in 2025, as we stand now, on this day, they have never had a starting black quarterback. So as a dad to a black quarterback, I had to ask that question. And it feels weird to ask, but I would feel as though it was some sort of parental malpractice to not ask. Everything is cool. I like it, but is it true that to date you've never had a starting black quarterback? A great football program. So you almost have to ask. And so I feel like we're in this in between. I love the fact that Marcus Freeman and James Franklin represented something last night in the form of leadership, right? Because you could be a good quarterback, not necessarily be a good leader, right? Depending on how you play and how the offense is structured, you can have a good defense. There is no head coach that gets to this level and performs at that level last night. Great game on both sides without being a good leader. So I love that these two black men represented something about leadership. But when my fraternity brother posted that, like, when are we going to stop talking about race and giving it power? I found myself sort of scrambling about this back and forth and tug of war of giving the topic of race too much power. And yet, personally, when considering as high school, it would have been parental malpractice not to ask the question, the elephant in the room. And so I guess that's where we're at. And there is no simple answer to it. And I don't think me snapping my fingers, I don't think me asking that question, I don't think us acknowledging the brilliance of both James Franklin and Marcus Freeman last night is going to solve it. But I love hearing these viewpoints from all sides, so continue to chime in. We'll give a few more minutes on this one before we pivot. Do you think the acknowledgement of, in this case, Marcus Freeman being the first black head coach to coach in the college football national championship, is it a good thing or a bad thing? Now, you politicize things, especially in this political climate, because of the hurt that people experience because of race. Everybody knows on this show, I made I did the Dear Coach episode and read a letter. This episode was letters of recommendation. And I sort of gave my college coach, a recommendation about using the words love, commitment, trust for then Donald Trump and his candidacy. And we had a back and forth. I felt bad. Coach Oates just turned 88. I reached out to him several times. I want to make amends with Coach because I let politics, and it wasn't the politics. It was the impact that politics had, the impact that a lot of my black teammates, the hurt that they felt because of the use of those words. And I've got a platform. I use the platform to say what I had to say. I don't love Coach any less. But if you add politics into this conversation, how dare we not, with this political climate, acknowledge that Marcus Freeman indeed, and if James Franklin would have won, James Franklin, whoever won, was the first black coach to coach in college football championship. But I get the point that my fraternity brother was making. The more we discuss it, the more we give it power. I said this already, but I mean it this time. I'll give you final word on it before we move on, and you say what?
I think Patrick Roach is the best. It's like, it's a first. You have to mention it. It has to be something to talk about. Period. I mean, hard stop. You have to mention it. And I just think, just as the correlation I made with the quarterbacks in the NFL, there's so many black quarterbacks in the NFL now. It's no longer the first. It's no longer that much of a topic. And those who mention it now are making the point too much. They're making too much of it now because now they're not rare. Now they're whatever. They've given an opportunity and would break through, and we've proven that it's right. There used to be a time where quarterbacks couldn't get an opportunity. Now they get an opportunity, and now they're doing very, very well. And the numbers are the discrepancies as far as percentages are nominal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Black quarterbacks are doing great. And I think that Marcus Freeman doing what he's going to do now at a young age with a nice hairline. He's going to come through, and he's gonna give coaches more opportunities because of it. And hopefully 4 or 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we look back and it's not even a topic anymore. Hopefully.
I'm gonna flip it here. Stick with me, because when there were Notre Dame fans that really were mad at me that how dare he say anything to Coach Holtz as much as Coach Holtz has done for him. I use this platform to share a feeling of pain, to share what a lot of former players, especially Black former players, felt was a violation of our code. Not because I wanted to be a political stance. I wanted those who didn't look like me, those who were my white teammates, to understand the hurt that we felt because of the association of racism with that particular candidate. And that's how I shared it from a personal place. Fast forward, I made a mistake on the same platform. I talked about Carl Nassib, who was the first NFL player that came out and said he was gay. I said that, why are we even talking about it? Someone, whatever they do in their bedroom doesn't matter. A lot of people in my community meaning the community that I live, as an elected official, they took issue with me. And a one call that really stuck out and resonated with me. Now, people are going to say what they want to say and not try to necessarily help you understand. Those people, whatever. But those who are having a genuine conversation about this, like Austin, I like this. Why do people care so much about race? Right? It's clear he's an incredible leader. I agree. And so the mistake that I made when it came to Carl Nassib, I said, why do we care about what someone's doing in their bedroom? The mistake that I made, I didn't really appreciate the mistake that I made until I got a call from someone who truly expressed it to me. Someone from the LGBTQA+ community said this: it matters because, have you looked at the suicide rate amongst young LGBTQ+ members? It matters because of the representation, that you can play any sport, even one that is really testosterone driven. It matters because of the representation and impact that it has. And so I say, Austin, I agree with you. Actions over color, I agree with you. I say that it matters because of the representation, and my son seeing that screen, even if he was confused, like, what? Two black, what you talking about? I think that's why it matters. And that's why we should celebrate it. And as long as the discussion points are geared towards that, yeah, man, you can do anything. And look, from a celebratory standpoint, that look, this is, and we need to do more of it. Because there were 2 Black NFL coaches that within their first year got fired. One, before what they call it, Bloody Monday, he got fired right after the game. Like, that's unheard of. Mayo got fired after the game. No, that does not happen. And so the representation, I think, is why we have the discussion. And so for those people, like my man Austin, who seems very genuine in asking that question, very genuine in saying actions over color, you are right. And you're right, but everyone's not as genuine as you in this same country, in the same 2025. So I guess that's why I'm happy that we're still celebrating the first Black coach. I agree with all of you that we shouldn't be, we can't give it too much power to overindulge in the discussion. But remember, there's a budding young coach out there somewhere that is looking around the landscape and saying, man, I need to go do something else. I need to go be an investment banker, because there's no prospects of me ever coaching one of these teams in the national college championship. That person needs to see from a representation standpoint, James Franklin. And
I don't think people are saying coach to a national championship or be an investment banker. I don't think they're juggling the two things, but I see what your point is.
I just went with it, man.
I get your point.
So one of the recommendations for Texas is get pressure on that OSU quarterback. And I would agree with that. Appreciate you chiming in. What's up, Chufu Jordan? Ryan Day is on the hot seat, y'all. Whether you like it or not, he's on the hot seat. I know we're going back and forth because we're going through the comments, man, but I think y'all can follow us. He's on the hot seat. He's on the hot seat. James Franklin's officially on the hot seat. What does that say overall for college football? That they're not just winning, they beating everybody. But they're just not taking home the trophy. They ain't got the hardware. If you don't have one of these, because I laughed at all the coaches, like, are we really going to dumb this youth football down there? If we don't win a championship, we're losers. Come on, y'all. We trying to build the future, right? But that's what it is for Ryan Day at this point.
You know what? It's okay. As a Bears fan, I hate to say that publicly, but as a Bears fan, we fired Lovie Smith when he was 10-6 and had already brought us to a Super Bowl. We didn't like him. Can't play. Man, we would kill for him to be for someone to be 10-6. Bad as we've been, horrible as we've been since he's firing. No one even thought playoffs. No one's thinking about the playoffs stuff.
Right.
So I just think people are unappreciative and unrealistic, and they're like, there should be something better. So if you get rid of Day, go ahead. Somebody's going to hire him tomorrow. He's going to make a ton of bread. They're going to be so excited that they got him. Just like LSU was so happy to get Kelly. You know what I mean? They went out and got him and paid him a ton of money. So you can sit there and say that you think he sucks. People, it's hard. It's very, very difficult to win those games. I mean, look at Harbaugh, how horrible Michigan did before they started cheating. I mean, before the last couple of years, Michigan was doing horrible. They made him take a pay cut.
Yeah.
They made the man take a pay cut. And then he came back.
And his agent kept coming up with these felonious, like, oh, yeah, I'm getting interviewed by this NFL team. That was to preserve his job. His agent was
trying to get their money back up. But, like, they were good. Harbaugh was horrible. I mean, like, unfortunately, the only big game he won was against Notre Dame. But he hadn't won a big game in his whole time there. Horrible. And then eventually he wins 3 Big Ten championships in a row. Yeah. Wins a national championship. I mean, like, all of it. What changed? What changed besides the Connor? But, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, all of a sudden, the dude figured it out because he's close. So I say my argument is Franklin and Day are a lot closer to a championship than the coach that doesn't coach there yet. If you think you're going to get rid of him and the other guy's just going to come in and close the championship, you're an idiot. He's going to come in. You're going to have some tough. Look at right now. This guy at Wisconsin, what's his name? Fickle. It's like they bring Fickle in, everything's ugly. They're ready to kill him, right? They're ready to get.
He should have stayed in Cincinnati.
Man. See all this stuff. Like I'm saying, careful what you wish for. Yeah. Day is he's in the conversation. He's going to have Day's going to have his day. I hope it's not this year though.
We are prisoners of the moment, and just be careful. I like this comment. What's up, Coach Dev? Coach Dev is down there, defensive line coach at the illustrious St. Thomas Aquinas of the greater Fort Lauderdale, Florida area. Say it with your chest every time. People need to know others still think we are unable to lead historically white college and university schools to championships. So we are not doing the topic a disservice. Meaning we should discuss it. And there are people out there. And the challenge is, and I can't remember the name of the other person who commented. The challenge is like, yeah, it sounds like that person doesn't believe that. Right? Like they're like, why are we even discussing that? But you have to acknowledge that everybody is not that open. So I like that comment, Stan. Let's pivot for a minute, because my letter of recommendation to the city of Atlanta. Notre Dame hasn't won a championship since 1988. And I know it's snowing there and they canceled all these flights, but my recommendation to the city of Atlanta is be ready, baby. Notre Dame faithful are about to come down there in droves. And we're going to take it over, just like we did in Miami. The only difference is we're going to also have a good product on the field. ATL shouted, get ready because Notre Dame is coming. We are, indeed. And it should be a good time down there. Yeah, I think it is generational. I think this generation, my man Matt says, our generation needs to acknowledge the significance of Freeman making championship game so that my son's generation sees it as a non-event. And your children's generation, right? Was that Gen Z? I think they look at race very differently than we do. So there's a generational tug of war with the conversation too that we should acknowledge. But it's really interesting, man. I thought that comment, my fraternity brother was a little older than me, saying we shouldn't even be discussing it. We didn't have the generational divide, and I kind of disagreed with him. So that's why we had the conversation. Letters of recommendation, y'all. Keep on giving us those letters of recommendation. What do you recommend? Do we continue talking about this race thing, or do we move on?
Let's move on.
Let's move on. And we're gonna move on because we talked about Ryan Day being on the hot seat. We talked about James Franklin being on the hot seat. And I would argue that these men who have won a lot of games are on the hot seat because of how it impacts recruiting, how it impacts people's willingness to engage in the collective, how it impacts this huge ecosystem of new business that is a part of college football. So much so that the U.S. Congress is now being involved in a bipartisan way such that they're trying to regulate NIL money. They are trying to address it through antitrust, essentially trying to make sure that there is some guidelines, some caps to the money involved in these deals so that the SEC and the Big Ten don't have a monopoly on the best talent. Our letter of recommendation to those congressmen, our letter of recommendation to college football as it pertains to NIL, and I want others to chime in as you see the numbers spiking up. As you watch these games, there was somebody from Penn State last night that he came from the University of Florida, but initially was at Georgia, and there's been a lot of parody about, these parody skits and reels out there about just, the introductions. You got to go through 8 schools before you get to their current school. That's where we are. And a lot of it can be attributed to the NIL. The Georgia quarterback who was contemplating going to the NFL draft has now stated that he is in the transfer portal. Beck. It's been reported that Miami is going to get this quarterback. I mean, they were literally 2 games from a championship. And if he plays, some argue that they would have a better chance, and he's in the transfer portal. A lot of it can be attributed to the money that's out there that's being dangled by the other schools that is essentially making this a 1-year free agency. Notre Dame is having a 1-year free agent in Riley Leonard, sorry. Last year they had our guy Sam. And so where are we going with this? That the U.S. Congress is compelled to weigh in on NIL. What is our letter of recommendation for name, image, and likeness? Where do we go from here? I pitched that to you first, Big Flow Show. I'll read the comment. That is a good comment. I pitched that to you first. I'll read it after you weigh in on our letter of recommendation to the U.S. Congress, the same Congress that is charged with the mandate of helping us through our regular, normal lives. And you look at all the problems and issues that we have, and there's so many different things that you can point to that you want them to focus on. To hear that they're talking about name, image, and likeness, our letter of recommendation, because you have a son currently going through Generation Z, going through college football, going through the ins and outs and ebbs and flows of name, image, and likeness. What is our letter of recommendation from the Ball Hawk Sports Talk to U.S. Congress when it pertains to name, image, and likeness?
I mean, it's a shame. I'm always scratching my head when the government gets involved in sports, right? As serious as sports are, and as much as they're part of my life and your life and my interest and your interest, it's like you feel like Congress got so much better stuff to do than worrying about what these young people are making and the fairness and whatever of college athletics. So that's my first thought.
And I think Ted Cruz said something to the effect of college sports is in danger, which is how they have quantified this problem and justified why they should be involved. College sports is in danger. It's under siege because of name, image, and likeness. That's how it's being presented.
And I say, honestly, I mean, if we take just a holistic view at the thing, this is the best year of college football, and especially this is the best in the last couple of years that we've had in the history of it. I mean, as Patrick mentions
Patrick
here,
Rose. Yep.
Patrick Roach, again, thanks for commenting so much today, Pat. Welcome to the show. I don't know if you're a regular watcher, but welcome. But in 3 years of this NIL, the SEC dominance has already eroded. I mean, weren't we tired of Alabama, Georgia, and Clemson tossing the championships back and forth to each other? Weren't we tired of that? Was that good for football? Were people excited about that? Now we got Notre Dame about to play either Ohio State or Texas in the championship game that no one would have predicted when the season started. No one would have predicted this 2 weeks before the playoffs started. Who would have told you that Oregon wouldn't have been in this championship, number one team with the highest payroll in college football? I mean, like, let's look at how amazing things have become. So we're saying it's ridiculous. Where are the victims when it comes to the fans? Where are the victims? No, there aren't. Now, I can argue that it's going to be a problem because, all the kids like my son, who I feel like could get a better shake, but that's a first world problem. Cry me a river, right? He's on a full scholarship to go to university and get his degree. So the problem isn't the fairness it is to him. That no one gives a shit about that, right? About what the athletes are going through. But the thing is, he has an opportunity if he does get into a good situation, he has an opportunity to make some money and either go to the NFL or start off his life with a little cash in his pocket. You know what I mean? I think I left college with about $300, right? And I was like, hey, what we gonna do? I got to make this thing last.
You left with $300. That's about $1,000 more than I left with. I came out in the hole, Jack.
You owed the bookstore, right? You still had
that stereo system. I came out in the hole, Jack.
So I'm like, these dudes have an opportunity to come out of school and make a little bit of money and do whatever. And are they getting paid way too much money? Says who? Says who? They're getting paid what is they're getting paid what they're worth to the university or the university fan base, right? The money's not coming out of someone else's pocket that's hurting, right? They're not taking money away from developing a science hall and doing whatever and giving it to these students. They're not raising the cost of tuition, although that might happen. They're not raising the cost of tuition and making people suffer and do whatever.
Right.
These people, rich people who care, who have a lot of discretionary income, want to see their teams win. And they're putting it in the hands of these kids. And now you got guys saying, I'd rather stay in school than go pro. That's a great thing for so many reasons, right? You're getting guys who are, again, you're getting a better college football product. You're getting kids to graduate. You're getting kids to get master's degrees, right? In general, you get more of them than before. And you get less people who don't graduate, try to go pro, don't make it, and then they're a flop. You get people who have a little bit of a nest egg. Hopefully they don't spend it all. But these, kids are leaving college, again, like we said, with a little bit of money in their pocket, maybe a little bit of an investment, maybe a little bit of a retirement, plan. I mean, hell, my kids got a Roth IRA. I had never even heard of that when I was in school. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because he doesn't even have real NIL deals. He's got some crappy little things that they went through.
Well, that's the collective. That's the other part I wanted to bring up, and then we'll pivot. I'm going to play this little clip that was a part of the article that talked about legislation being contemplated by Congress, and then we'll get back to it. But let me
finish my thought because I got a little tangent there. I just think that they let the cat out the bag and they let it get kind of messy. And I think that the market will correct itself like it does. We have now made college a free market, and the free market will collect itself. They're going to stop giving some of these people money before they've done anything. They're going to stop doing that, and it's going to start to slowly go back and the market will correct itself, right? But in the meanwhile, there's going to be some people that get rich early, just like people who get in on stock, right? You get rich, the guys that are down and get rich early. But
Bitcoin,
I think the market
get in early, baby.
Yeah, I think the market will fix itself, and I just don't think Congress needs to get involved and screw it up. You know what I mean? Like where were you before when they talked about this before? They went to Congress and they asked what we should do.
Or Congress never really got involved when you looked at the dynamics of the business and you looked at all the money that was being made by the colleges and you looked at all of the players that went out there and risked life and limb, that are walking around with severe limps or a finger turned sideways. We weren't getting any of it. And most of them, just like us, came out either in debt or with pennies to their name under the spirit of amateurism. Where was Congress then? So I hear it, but it seems as though it's picking up steam because it has been so out of control. And I said this before, I think the NCAA has punted on several things and missed the opportunity. But you pointed out, you say your son is been able to establish a Roth IRA, and because of the money he's getting from the school. Dion made a very important distinction. He said, well, that's not NIL, that's the collective. And he oversimplified it, but he said NIL is, and he was asking rhetorically, how many people other than my son and Travis Hunter have you seen on TV doing national commercials? I think somebody added Juju Watkins, and somebody else added, but he was like, so that's my point. The money that you're getting on a regular basis, that's from the collective. That's different than NIL. And there is some overlap. He oversimplified it, but I think that's the point that most people don't understand. Most players aren't getting XYZ. So that's why they keep shopping between schools, right? The transfer portal combined with the NIL, the new transfer rules, being able to have unlimited transfers, essentially, as long as you do it at the right time in the season, combined with NIL. I'm going to leave for a better deal, makes it free agency. I think there's a happy medium. I'm not certain that Congress is the one to establish it. I'm going to show this real quick because I think it makes the point. It makes the point for us.
Recruit, you're not.
Let me get to the beginning.
That being said, with college, we saw last year with the Packers, like, Jeff Hafley, he went from college to the pros. And then we see this year with Belichick going from, the pros, taking a year off, but then going to college. Do you think more guys will make that jump where because college is run more like a professional outfit and it's heading that way with, the structure to everything, that there will be more NFL coaches going down and vice versa, more guys from college going up?
You know what? I think it depends on the individual. Okay, so if you want to succeed in college football, you have to be able to recruit. Mm-hmm. Okay, if you are a coach that's an X's and O's guy and really good calling plays and a good teacher, hey, that's awesome. But if you can't recruit, you're not going to succeed in college football as a head coach. In the NIL era, you need money as well. So you better go to a program that's got deep pockets to pay guys. I'm guessing a guy like Jeff Hafley decided, look, Boston College, maybe we don't have the collective that we need there. Maybe I'm better served being a coordinator, making a couple $1,000,000, and the X's and O's is my strength. I can't speak for him. A guy like Belichick, he'll be successful anywhere he goes. The guy's a beast. He can make it at the NFL. He can kill it in high school. He can kill it in college. He's an all-time great. He can basically do what he wants. Look, your cohort, Nick Saban, he dominated college football.
He is my cohort.
But obviously he was not a guy that loved this new system. He has said that. So that, I think, had something to do with him stepping aside and doing media. It's made for some people. It's not for others.
First of all, the irony, the rich irony.
I can't hear you. I think
you also could say slimy agent.
Back up. I stopped. Your volume went out for a second. You said the irony, and then your volume went out. You're back now.
What happened?
After you said your irony, your volume went out for about.
Oh, sorry. Seconds. The irony of Drew Rosenhaus, who that particular clip, in an identification way, identified him as a super agent. Mm-hmm. You could also change the adjective to slimy agent. Sneaky agent, disliked agent. There are people that if they see Drew Rosenhaus on the street today, it's going to be some furniture moving. because of his tactics. I'm from South Florida, and I'm not gonna put smut on his name. I'm recalling the account of people that have dealt with him personally, being his client. And so when I see Drew Rosenhaus, of all people, weighing in on this, I do get a little uneasy because there were 26, 27, 28, 30-something-year-old men who have been making a lot of money for a lot of years, who had advisors, who had a little more life experience, who were duped into certain decisions, who unfortunately got bad advice from that man. It scares me a little bit to think a 17-year-old, right, that is on a college campus, a 20-year-old, without all of the advisors around them, could be under the watch and care from a business standpoint of a Drew Ross. That scares me a little bit. But to his point, he's basically acknowledging it's about the money that you have. And that's going to lead to the success of your program. That's where we are. That's where we are. The combination of NIL, big picture, the big umbrella of NIL, which includes the collective on the respective campuses and universities, and the transfer portal, a mechanism that allows you to go find that next check, has us in a position that people like Drew Rosenhaus are going to be going to visit a 21-year-old on campus and telling them, you need to let me represent you. That's where we are. And my letter of recommendation to Congress is the campuses and the universities, while we've been talking about the insurance component of athletes, while ad nauseum we've talked about whether or not these athletes identify as employees, as people have contemplated some form of a union and collective bargaining agreement, I would argue that Congress, if involved at all, should be involved in putting more of an onus and responsibility on the colleges and the universities that are still making out handsomely when you look at the current business structure of college sport, to educate those athletes and be a part of the solution such that the 30 on 30 documentary broke doesn't happen with this generation of wage earners by way of name, image, and likeness. Because that is essentially what we're doing. We're just adding to the pool of people that are going to run through money. Your son having a Roth IRA is because he does go to a school like Northwestern. He does have a support system like you who will put him in the right situation. But everybody ain't in no Roth IRA. Some people getting that check and spending it just like y'all used to do with the Pell Grant. I blame y'all. Right at the mall, right at Dillard's, money in, money out, and they are not seizing the real value in being in that position. So if the Congress is going to get involved and will listen to my letter of recommendation, let's be preemptive and make these colleges and universities, even if it was just by way of a class that has the basic financial metrics of what you need to do with your first check. The colleges and universities have a captive audience. They have, to me, a vested interest. And that's the only thing I think that the Congress could do. I'll give you last word on it before we move on.
Yeah, I think we should let it play out a little bit longer. Because I guess I'd say where's the carnage? Like where's, we say it's getting out of hand, meaning what? Too many people are getting paid. There's so much money. The competition portion of it.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You said competition. Hopefully you can keep that. I think that those who are saying it out of hand, because I've said it too, it's not that too many people are getting paid. That I would say it's out of hand that the payment, the lure thereof, the ability to go find it, and at this point, the focus on it versus anything else, right? Including the camaraderie and the relationship building on your roster and in your locker room, including the education that's at your fingertips that you could take full advantage of. I think that's where people saying it's getting out of hand because they're dangling a carrot that a young person is going to chase, but really should be a little more, be careful about just how Free Willy, you're able to dangle that carrot, and the ability to go chase the carrot is now putting young people in a position to really show and prove that youth is wasted on the young. Young people are making young people decisions. I think that's what people are saying when they're saying it's out of control. And I, that's my premise when I say it. I'll talk specifically about how I feel about it.
So I guess my point is, who is Congress coming in to protect? Because when the government gets involved, because they're trying to protect somebody, they're trying to do whatever. And my point is, there's so much money going to these kids now. Obviously, there's going to be, if Congress wants to get involved, I'd like to see them go to the schools and put some more onus on them. Say, hey, every school is going to have to provide a tax advisor, a financial advisor. Every school is going to do this. Maybe some of the money is going to have to be delayed for later on. All these agreements are going to be delayed money, force kids to do some stuff that's smart, which is kind of hard to do to somebody. But like at the end of the day, get involved that way. But like what they're trying to do is protect and try to make the school stuff more fair. So when people were breaking the law and they were paying people the SEC
under the
table paying people, and they were dominating and they were doing what they had to go do, everyone knows it's happening, and not really much was being done about it. It wasn't that big of a deal. But now it's like, now that everybody can do it, and there's money going to be out there, and we haven't even got to the point where they've got the revenue share hasn't even kicked in yet, which I think is going to help a lot, right? Because now a lot more people can get paid. I just feel like they're coming in there to do, like, what's your goal? Like, why is Cruz talking about this? Like, why are you involved in this conversation? What?
Right.
Let it go for a little longer. See what happens. You know what I mean?
And it's bipartisan. I think you got Blumenthal and Democratic. It's not just.
I'm not even going to get into which side of the table he's on. I'm just using his name specifically. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care about. I just think a lot of people get worried. It's like, oh man, these kids are making money. Like, we got to do something about it. Why? Let them do it. Let them make the money. Let it get free. The market will implode if it does. But football's not going anywhere because people aren't going to stop playing football if they don't get paid. Like, they're not going to say, I'm not playing football anymore. People play football because it's their dream, and the money's out there. Now, you can't let it get out of control and try to rein it in, because that's where the problems are really going to start to happen. It's like, you already let it get to this point because you were too lazy up front. You said, all right, let's just let it do what it do. And you let you open up the fence, open up the gate. And now that the horses are running wild, we got to do something about these horses. Well, you should have thought about that before you open the gate.
Right.
So I think it's too late to do anything and not cause more problems, but we'll see what happens.
Let's do it. Lightning round. We'll go lightning round because we both going to get out of here today, man. It's been a great episode. These letters of recommendation. The letters of recommendation that I'm going to go with right now are the NFL. We got the playoffs, man. And just give me who you got winning. You got the Chargers versus the Texans on Saturday. Wild card round. Who you going with? Chargers, Texans, and weigh in, good people. I want to hear what you got to say. Chargers, Texans. Do we finally see the Texans break out and take full advantage of this young roster?
I'm going to go Chargers, but I think it's going to be a good game.
I hope Chargers are going to represent LA. We're going to get to that, man, and all the craziness out there. We have the Steelers versus the Ravens, the grudge match. One that seems to always be live and direct when it comes to AFC North. Mike Tomlin, if he loses this one, it'll be while we celebrate Mike Tomlin as a, dare I say, black coach, but also as a coach that's never had a losing season. If he loses, it'll be the fifth time this team that he has coached is one and done. And the way NFL owners judge success is not just making it to the playoffs, it's making it through the playoffs and being competitive.
This is not the year they're going to get beat down. That's not going to happen. This ain't the year. They're going to get whooped.
And then Mike Tomlin might be one of those dudes that is inexplicably on the hot seat. On Sunday, you got the Broncos versus Bills.
Bills Mafia.
Broncos snuck in there somehow. Packers versus Eagles. You got the Eagles. You're going to all home teams, I see. You got you went to Chargers. They're away team. You got Bucks versus the Commanders. Baker touchdown maker. That hurts me. He's playing so well as a Brown fan.
I gotta go with Bucky. Bucky and the Bucks.
You going with Bucks?
Bucky Irvin.
I think I'm going with the young Jaden Daniels, man. I think Commanders are real. And then on Monday Night Football, you got the Vikings and the Rams that were supposed to be played in LA, but it's not. First, let's start with who you got winning that, Vikings, Rams.
I'm gonna go Vikings.
You're going to go Vikings. I'm going with Rams. Again, I'm cheering for all LA teams because of the fires. And I'll end with that letter of recommendation. But before I do, Ball Hawk Spotlight moment. First one is going to go to Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, which I thought was just hilarious, man. Jimmy Butler is the quintessential troller. Jimmy Butler, who owns Big Face Coffee that he started in the bubble during COVID, which was crazy. He's now morphed that into a real business, and he's been suspended for 7 games in anticipation that they're going to be letting Jimmy Butler go. Jimmy Butler said this on camera, which I thought was crazy, genius, sharp. The guy's a brilliant genius. He said this. Let me go ahead and share it. Bring it in as I do all the things. Jimmy Butler said this.
This is our best guy right here. See that? I gave him a compliment. That's what bosses do. Just build you up. We don't break you down. That's it.
Brilliant. I mean, some would say like if he's trying to get fired, he's doing a great job with it. But if you didn't hear it, he basically said, see, that's what bosses do. We build you up. We don't break you down, as he gave the, what do they call it? Barista. They give barista. He gave his best barista. They compliment and took a shot at Pat Riley at the same time. We build you up, don't break you down. Letter recommendation for Jimmy Butler, as he has been suspended for 7 days and now on the cusp of being shipped out of Miami. Always being questioned as, is he a locker room cancer? This is now going to be the 4th team. You can't deny his on-the-court prowess. You can't deny the fact that he single-handedly took a team to the finals twice that had no business being there. Your letter recommendation for him, was this genius to keep trolling and take a pretty obvious shot at Pat Riley? What would you recommend to this young brother, Jimmy Butler?
I'm in no position to give Jimmy Butler advice as far as that's concerned. So I'm gonna say Jimmy being Jimmy. He is who he is, and I just think he needs to go ahead. I just think he needs to go ahead and just be him. He wants out of there, and he's going to try to force the hand. They don't want to trade him, and so he's going to try to do what he can to force these dudes to trade him. And I think he was supposed to go to the Suns. That deal fell apart or whatever, but Jimmy's being Jimmy. I don't think that was to me, that was a very mild shot.
It's pretty funny though.
It was.
That's what bosses do. They build you up, not break you down. That was pretty funny. The other Ball Hall Spotlight moment in our lightning round has to go to our man, Cooper Flagg, who in this day and age of reclass and older kids, Cooper Flagg has taken over basketball. He is a 17-year-old phenom, the projected #1 player. If he does get drafted #1, he'll be the first white player to get drafted #1 in at least 30 years.
So that's another funny one. Like, really? I didn't know that.
First white, yeah. So
shout out to the white dudes, man. You gotta make it first. You guys make it first too.
I did it on this show because we were talking about
trying to be fair. I had no idea though. I would have never known that. You
think about an American-born white dude that was the first pick of the NBA.
I just didn't think about it.
You can't go back like Bill Walton or somebody. I don't even know. I mean, that's a long time ago, bro. But Cooper Flagg did this. Let me get him in here.
Turn around there. They got it right the first time. And picked off.
He double dribbled though.
Oh! I want to see that one more time.
Hey, he double dribbled though.
You gotta see it one more time.
The double dribble. Boom. Double dribble. That was no gathering.
Oh!
They gotta be all in my face. Like that. That's double dribble though. That should never count. It should never.
We talked about brothers and how we don't like that question. Hey, now how old are you right now? If we get dunked on, we not doing all that hugging. He dunked on the white dude who basically hugged him and patted him on the back. I'm like, man, this is probably.
You didn't know what to do because you can't get mad when somebody dunked on you.
Man, what you mean you can't get mad?
I mean, what are you gonna push him?
Mad.
He dunked on you. What are you gonna get mad and push him? That just makes it worse. If you get
I'm pushing you. You're not looking at me. You're not. I'm at least pushing you. That's just what it is.
I think you just try to get out the frame. You know what I mean? I don't want to be the whole.
And the other rule is when a man got a fast break like that, you know he's 6'8", crazy athletic. Move out the way. Move.
Or just foul him early.
So early.
Get him at the top of the key. Foul him. Take him out there.
Our letter recommendation to the defender there is move out the way. We'll
this is terrible right here. Hold on. This is terrible. That's terrible. My man Googled it, Mark, and I trust Mark. He found out.
1977. Good year.
That's terrible.
Terrible, man.
That's got cultural significance. Hey, I'm glad you brought it up. It needs to be said.
And he's projected number one, and he's balling. He's already got his NIL deal. New Balance broke him off something proper, which is very interesting, man. So what I did notice, and we're going to get into this, not this show, because we're about to shut this show down and letters recommendation show, but Rutgers is, I think, an Adidas school. They're two projected top 5 NBA draft players, Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey. I don't know how they got both of them, but I do know how they got both of them. Legally paid. Had on Nikes. We've got to look into that in terms of the deals that the players make that run counterproductive or undermine the deal that the school has. Very interesting.
I don't want to go down this rat hole too much, but I mean, if you think about it, like with this whole NIL thing, you know, the school owned your NIL before. Now they do not. So you had to wear the shoe that the school was saying that you had to wear, and it was their deal and whatever. And now you're just like, look, I'm not coming. Now, if you're the school that is, if I'm Nike and you're an Adidas kid, then you come to my team and you're playing Adidas, would I rather? What's the lesser two evil? Would I rather you not come to the school and not be good? I'd rather you come there and not wear the Nikes
than not come.
And we don't win games. So now
I gotta find out. I'm gonna go see if Cooper Flagg is wearing New Balance because I know Duke is a Nike school. Very interesting stuff.
Yeah, no doubt.
I just noticed that. I watched Rutgers the other day and noticed it. But anyway, this has been a great show, man. Our last letter of recommendation is going to be this because we had a good time and celebrating. We celebrated the Irish victory. We celebrated the fact that Notre Dame is going to the national championship. We celebrate.
Your school isn't.
You ain't going. Even if you are Ohio State or Texas fan, as of this hour, you do not have your ticket punched. We're the only team with a ticket punch to the national championship as it stands.
We had the shortest turnaround. We had to play the first game on Friday. Then they messed us up, and they got all the extra rests, and they pushed the game on. And we still going.
But while we had fun today, as we should, at the expense of all you Notre Dame haters, that we recommend go into, was it blindfolded, buck naked, in traffic, and whatever your recommendation was.
In the street.
We did want to leave with this letter of recommendation. It's a little more serious. The fires in LA have impacted people's life, property, peace of mind. There are going to be people from a PTSD standpoint that are going to deal with the trauma related to this world of, this event, right? Mother Nature event. And so we want to pray for all of them. Our letter of recommendation is if you know someone that lives out there, reach out to them. That might give them more peace of mind. Reach out to them because you never know how they're impacted by this. And then our other letter of recommendation is moments like this should force us all to remember just how precious life is and how quick things can change. Even in this beautiful country of freedom, Mother Nature doesn't care if you're American or any other nationality. It don't care if you're rich, poor, black, white, doesn't matter. And so our letter of recommendation would be use this to remind ourselves, seize every day, hold on close to your loved ones, protect your own peace, because tomorrow's not promised and things can change like that. Our other letter of recommendation is come back next week. Okay, we guarantee it's going to be sports, business, entertainment. We guarantee it's going to be rough, rugged, and raw. We guarantee it's going to be businessmen getting together to discuss sports in an entertaining fashion. And we guarantee that the Ball Hog Sports Talk is here to stay.
No doubt.
You help us.
Chitch.
If you will like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anyone that you know, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel and the podcast. This has been our labor of love. From the Middle Coast, it is the Big Flow Show. I am your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth South, a.k.a. Mr. Accessible, a.k.a. Breezy, a.k.a. the Councilman, a.k.a. Coach Bobby, a.k.a. we going to the chip. We going to the chip. Meet us in the ATL if you so dare. Have a great weekend, y'all. Live every day as though tomorrow promised, because it showed not. This has been the letter of recommendation episode of the Ball Hog Sports Talk. And with that, we is out. Peace.